So for those who are unfamiliar, I'm actually a big fan of RPGs. My first ever RPG was Final Fantasy II on the Super Nintendo, aka Final Fantasy IV in Japan. This was a completely different video game from anything I had ever experienced. A game where you had to manage your inventory, a game where you went to shops to buy equipment, where you gained levels to increase the strength and abilities of your characters, and you used different strategies to overcome bosses, and it was turn-based, and it was a really unique experience for me. And I loved Final Fantasy IV. It was a game of my childhood. It introduced me to RPGs, and I went on to play all kinds of stuff, from Super Mario RPG to the Paper Mario games, to Pokémon, to the Persona games, to Tales of Symphonia, to Dragon Quest VIII, to every other Final Fantasy game in the market. I'm a huge RPG fan. I really do like it when they are absolutely great. But when they are absolutely terrible, oh, you feel it, believe me. So naturally, my curiosity was piqued when I heard that the next Sonic the Hedgehog title was actually going to be an RPG. Yes, the next game in the series was Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood, and this game immediately caught my interest because of the developer. Who is developing Sonic Chronicles? Bioware! Bioware is one of my favorite RPG developers out there right now. The first game I ever played from them was Star Wars: Knights of the Old Republic on the original Xbox. This was the perfect Star Wars RPG ever. This is a game where you played as an amnesiac Jedi who could gain a whole variety of powers, from force lightning to force pushes to healing abilities. You could customize your lightsaber, make it whatever color you wanted it to be. You joined a crazy cast of characters, from a big Wookiee named Zalbar to a very old kooky Jedi known as Jolee Bindo. This game was fantastic. The storytelling was great, the customization to your character was great, and it really made you feel like you were part of the Star Wars mythos. It just hit every note right. And BioWare is also responsible for the Baldur's Gate games, and Jade Empire was a pretty decent action RPG, if I do say so myself. But by far, their greatest crowning achievement to date is the Mass Effect series. And in 2007, before Sonic Chronicles came out, they released Mass Effect 1. And I love Mass Effect 1. While its gameplay doesn't really compare to 2 and 3 because the combat got better, atmosphere, storytelling, and sci-fi world building were never at its best than it was with Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect is a fantastic piece of fiction, and it really does belong up there with all of the sci-fi classics, from Star Wars to Star Trek to Battlestar Galactica to Babylon 5. If you haven't played the Mass Effect trilogy yet, do it. It's a great series. After Sonic 06 disillusioned me from the Sonic franchise, this was the last glimmer of hope I had. I mean, BioWare are great! Mass Effect was great! KOTOR was great! I was nothing but excited! Finally, a light at the end of the dark age of Sonic Tunnel! This can't suck! This has to be good! Because if this game isn't good, I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do with myself! Come on, Sonic Chronicles! Come on! Sonic's cursed! He's cursed! This is really what I thought back in 2008! He is cursed! This was by far the biggest disappointment to me when it came to Sonic. I could not believe BioWare would release such a shoddy product when they were responsible for so many great games. And I know people will tell me it was the B team of BioWare, it wasn't their A+ effort, guys. But you know what? That doesn't matter. They advertised that BioWare developed this. When I see the BioWare logo come up when you start the game, I expect BioWare quality. God, was this game horrible in so many ways. I mean, I had a real struggle recording footage for this one. It's just like, RPGs by their nature are very long, and bad RPGs feel even longer. And I couldn't even make it to the end of this game again, you know? I did it once, and I'm not doing it again. I hate this with every fiber of my soul. So, you know, let's just go down the 4 big problems with this game. Okay, so I will say this. I do appreciate the fact that the writers tried to tap into literally every piece of the Sonic mythology that they could when making this game. Landmarks like Green Hill Zone, Metropolis, Central City from Sonic Battle and Shadow the Hedgehog show up. You're going to be running into the gun troops, and you even see the gun commander from Shadow the Hedgehog. The villains of this game are actually a lost Echidna tribe from Knuckles' Angel Island. And they actually reference the events of Sonic Adventure 1, mentioning how Perfect Chaos destroyed Knuckles' tribe that was led by Pachacamac, but this tribe managed to get away and blah 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 blah. I swear, when I played this game, I didn't actually expect an answer as to who exactly made Emerald the robot from Sonic Battle. They actually explained the Gizoids from that one game, Sonic Battle. So yeah, it's tapping into so much of the Sonic mythology, but the thing about this game is that the storytelling isn't really all that great. It's kind of paint by numbers, it's very run-of-the-mill. You know Tails is going to be the tech wizard and the sidekick to Sonic. You know Knuckles and Sonic are going to have their standoffish moments. You know Dr. Eggman's going to be the greatest character ever. You know Shadow's going to have a stick up his ass, and you know that Rouge is going to be all seductive and sarcastic and snarky and whatnot. The entire story can be summed up like this. A lost tribe of echidnas have appeared from another dimension. They're trying to conquer everything. Sonic stops them. And then plot twist at the end! And that's it. I really don't have anything to say about it. Sometimes the dialogue would make me smile because the lines were funny, but most of the time I just didn't care. I actually think Sonic Rush Adventure, even with Marine the Raccoon, had a better story to tell than the RPG game. I'm sorry, it just didn't do anything for me, so I can't recommend this for the story. There are moments with Sonic and Amy where it seems like they're finally going into Son-Amy territory where they're trying to pair them up, but that's only if you choose to make it that way. Because again, like all Bioware games, you can actually choose what Sonic says in conversations. And the thing is, Sonic can be a brutal, horrible, awful dick if you choose to be that way. And you know, I just don't think you should be giving a main mascot character like Sonic the ability to do that, because it just doesn't mesh well with the rest of the continuity of Sonic. It doesn't do anything for me, so slogging through the awful gameplay was not rewarding at all. Problem number 2, the presentation. I'm sorry, for a DS game, this game looks horrible. I have seen plenty of DS games, from Mario 64 to the other Sonic titles to Final Fantasy 3 and 4. Why the hell does this game look so hideous? When you do actually have cutscenes, they come in these weird comic booky flash animation segments that really, they look like something I could be watching off of Newground. And I'm not trying to put down anyone who actually is an artist on Newground. Hell, we wouldn't have awesome games like Super Meat Boy or Alien Hominid or personalities like Ego Raptor if it weren't for Newgrounds, so I'm not putting down that entire site as a whole. But for Sega, I do kind of expect a little better when it comes to the animation, and it just doesn't mesh well. It doesn't scream like something I should be playing on my DS. It looks like something I should be playing on my phone for $2. The character models are hideous. When you play Sonic Rush Adventure, Sonic and Blaze look great. When I played Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, Sonic and characters looked great. But then you play this game and oh my god, what the hell is with these models? When your character looks just as bad as the Pakistan McDonald's commercial, you've done something wrong.
Shadow basketball. Knuckles baseball.
I shouldn't think that the character models from Sonic 3D Blast actually look better on a Nintendo DS game. Oy. Oh, and speaking of Sonic 3D Blast, let's talk about the fantastic music. Because Sonic titles always have great music, don't they? Well, let's listen to Central City. Isn't that the best version of Diamond Dust Zone that you ever heard in your life? Certainly schools that old original, doesn't it? Oh wait, no it didn't. Let's listen to the title screen. The minute you boot up the game, what does the game sound like? Oh yeah, I'm really excited to play the game now with this generic meaty file. How about Green Hill Zone? Is it catchy like the original Green Hill Zone? I mean, good God, what the hell happened here? This is the Nintendo DS, guys! It should sound a hell of a lot better than this! What the hell happened here? You know, I was gonna make a comparison that your games shouldn't sound like they belong on the Sega Game Gear, but no, that is an insult to Sega Game Gear, because Sonic titles on the Game Gear had way better music than this. All of this music just screams lazy, and it's really boring to listen to, and it makes walking through the map or going through battles unbelievably tedious. This is one of those few games where I actually mute the audio so that I can play my own soundtrack. I mean, look at what they did to the Sonic 3 final boss theme. Just terrible. Awful in every way. Problem number 3, the controls. So, instead of using the control pad or any of the face buttons, this game is entirely controlled with the stylus. You navigate menus with the stylus, you choose your action commands with your stylus, you do lots of POW minigames with the stylus, and when you're moving around the map trying to dodge enemies or get to where you need to go, you have to put the stylus on some part of the map so that your character will walk to where the stylus is. These controls are awful, and it's a big reason why the POW moves don't work as well as they do, and it's also a reason why I'm constantly running into enemies that I would really like to walk by, but I just can't do it because the control is so stiff, and it just makes getting away from enemies a tedious chore when maybe you just want to get to Tails' workshop to heal yourself, you know? And the stupid thing is, every time I get into a battle, if I don't want to fight them, if I try to avoid them in the first place, if you try running away, you always engage in this stupid running away minigame where you have to click on all the characters to make them jump over boxes and make sure that they hit the speed boosters, and if you don't do it perfectly every time, then enemies catch up, they get a free round to beat on all of your characters, and if they were low health when they entered that fight, then you're gonna die, and that's no good. Look, I hate gimmicky ways to play a game. I always have, I always will. And the thing is, I'd rather be playing this with a control pad. I'd rather be selecting my attacks with the control pad and buttons because that way I can relax better. And I can't even see all the action half the time because sometimes when I'm dragging the stylus to like the top left of the screen, well guess what? My right hand is now covering the bottom right side of the screen. And I'm not seeing everything. What I'm supposed to be looking at is being like covered, and when there are certain POW minigames where like a circle will pop up in the top left, but then it pops up in the bottom right, but my hand was blocking it, so I couldn't see it, and then I screw it up, and then I don't successfully dodge an attack or do the move I was supposed to do, then that's bad design! It doesn't make fights fun, it doesn't make this game enjoyable at all, I just want to sit down and relax and not have my hand in such an awkward position always dragging along the screen. It's awful, I hate it. And yeah, that's only the tip of the iceberg of why this game sucks. Problem number 4, the core gameplay. So I knew coming into this game it was going to be an RPG. I knew that. I knew it was going to be slower, I knew it was going to be more methodical. Hey, I like Final Fantasy games, I like Pokémon, I like all kinds of stuff. I should be able to enjoy this if it's done well. But it's just not done well. And there are 2 reasons for this. One, the enemies are not all that stimulating. The maps and the story just doesn't drag you through the story all that well. But the real big crux of the problem, and the thing I found unacceptable, and I could not believe people were not making a bigger deal out of this, was the battle system, and how every time you needed to weaken a character's defense, to pierce their armor, to revive your characters, to give them health, to restore their POW points, you had to rely on POW moves. And what exactly is a POW move? Well, it's like a magic ability, you know. You waste mana points, essentially, POW points, and you do something spectacular that's way better than just simply attacking. This is standard in RPGs, right? But it requires a Elite Beat Agent style minigame where you have to drag your stylus along with a circle, or you have to constantly tap one circle, or you have to time your stylus presses so that the circles turn green, and then you hit it, and it's all about timing and whatnot. And this is such a big point of the game. It is such a big focus of the game, in fact, that some of these moves just instantly fail if you don't do them perfectly. You want to know what kind of moves fail instantly if you don't do them perfectly? I don't know. Cream's ability to revive a person from the dead. Cream's ability to give the entire party health. Cream's ability to restore every character's POW points. Tails' ability to dismantle and tinker with a robot. Stuff like that, I hated this minigame system so much that it is the problem with the game. I don't care about the pacing issues, which are awful. I don't care about the lazy enemy strategies where the boss fights aren't all that exhilarating or interesting, although that is a problem. No. My big problem with this game, and I cannot believe more people don't shit on this game for this, are the god-awful POW moves. Cream the Rabbit is sort of an essential for my party. The reason she's essential is because she's the white mage, and items are so scarce. You only get items from beating enemies or buying them at the shop. But the thing is, you don't get rings from beating enemies. This isn't like typical Final Fantasy stuff where you get a certain amount of coins or whatever. You only get rings from finding them on the map. So every time you go to a new map, you'll run into a few, which is okay. But once you've collected those rings, they're gone forever. But once they're out of the way, you can only sell items to get more rings to buy different things. So you'll have to go into random battles, which always give you an item, and then sell those items to buy more things. But generally, the items you get are items you actually need. So what happens is, in order to not waste items so that you keep gaining items, every time your characters are weak, you'll always retreat to the spaceship or to Tails' workshop, just so that you have a fighting chance for the second battle to get more POW candy or whatever. And it's such a tedious, backtracky, slow thing to level up a character with. It's a slow, tedious way to grind for items and get the inventory that you want. So for me, Cream the Rabbit was damn near essential. Problem is, people consider her broken. I say bullshit. I guess there's a disconnect between me and the audience here, where you say the POW moves are easy. Some people call this game easy. Oh yeah, I don't think so. These POW moves are too specific, they are too strict, they are too exact. Cream has an ability that is 8 POW points heavy, where she restores the entire party's POW points, including her own, but only if she does it right. So, there are certain enemies like SWAT bots, for example. You cannot do any damage to SWAT bots until you pierce their armor, until you weaken their defenses. And so you can't brute force your way through this game. You can't just attack, and expect to win. This is a game where you have to use your POW points in order to stand a chance. Okay, I accept that. But POW energy is so small, even in like the first 8 hours of the game, that you'll do like 2 POW moves, and then your character's already like out of POW energy. So you either have to keep buying a shitload of POW candy in order to use POW moves constantly throughout the battle, or you have to rely on Cream the Rabbit. But here's the thing. I do a move with Cream, 8 timing presses. 8. Tap, 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 tap. Oh, I screwed one up! Guess what happens when you screw one up? Failed. She fails. She doesn't do her magic. She doesn't give everyone POW points. But the POW energy she wasted trying to do this move, still there. She still wasted her POW points. So I've essentially wasted that round. And because the POW energy is so small, and because restoring everyone's POW energy is such a high cost for Cream, she's essentially wasted 2 rounds. Because now I have to spend the second round getting Cream's magic back. Because this game has a thing where you choose every character's moves right at the start. You choose what they do, and then they spend the round doing it. But you can't, like, combo these things where, say, I want to give Sonic Pow Candy. So first I'm going to make him give himself Pow Candy, and then I'm going to do an axe kick to this robot. No, you're not allowed to do that. Because unless you had Pow Energy when you started the match, you're not allowed to successfully heal yourself, then use a special move in the same round, you know? So because Cream wasted her energy giving every other character POW points, I now spend the second round getting her magic back, making her waste 2 rounds instead of just 1. Meanwhile, the enemy is dealing out mega damage, and while I'm focusing items on her, and you know, my characters are getting their asses kicked, and I can't do anything because Cream can't heal them because she doesn't have enough POW points to do that. So it's just frustrating when all it takes is one little screw up, one little fuck up with the stylus to completely invalidate everything you're trying to accomplish. When I play Final Fantasy VII, I don't have to worry about whether my Curaga spell is gonna work. I just have to worry that my character's alive when he does it, you know? In the Mario RPGs, the minigames are way simpler. Simpler to the point that, yeah, you can maybe screw it up a little bit, but it doesn't completely invalidate the whole experience. You know, I might do 2 damage instead of 3 damage, stuff like that, but Sonic Chronicles doesn't put up with that shit. It's all or nothing with Sonic Chronicles, so you have to make sure you do these minigames perfectly. Fuck that! Oh, sorry, Tails couldn't tinker with this robot because you didn't drag the stylus perfectly in the circle. I don't know if it's my depth perception or if the 3DS just doesn't register the stylus perfectly. And I swear, even when I'm doing simple things like typing out letters in Animal Crossing, I always feel like I'm hitting the wrong letter even though I clearly was above this letter. It's just the way the 3DS is! And I just hated losing every time to those POW moves. I don't care about describing the rest of the game. I don't care about describing whether the maps are annoying to walk through. I don't care about whether the bosses are tedious, whether the robots reassemble themselves for no reason, so you have to plan it out so that all of them die at the same time. None of that shit's important. The ending's not important. The story's not important. If I hate playing this stupid fucking game because I can't successfully do the POW moves, then it's unplayable for me. It's garbage. I looked online trying to find an alternative, trying to find a way so that my POW moves would always win. And I did find one solution. Every now and then when you're walking around the map, you find Chow eggs. And when you find a Chow egg, it will hatch a Chow. And these are Chow that you can equip to your characters that give them different little effects, you know? Some will raise your hit points, some will actually make your character like a water elemental, and then there's the Chow Ferrix, who will automatically win POW moves for you. And I was like, cool, where can I find Ferrix? Oh right, the Chows that hatch from the eggs are random every time. So the only strategy I had to find Ferrix was to constantly turn on and off my game until the egg that hatched came up with Ferrix. And guess what? After 40 minutes of turning my game on and off again, just so Cream had the chance of always being successful, I never got Ferrix, and I said, fuck it. This is the way the game was meant to be played. This is how they expected you to slog through this god-awful game. Fuck it. That's the game. Just recording footage for this game was a tedious slog, and I never want to touch this game again. It's god-awful. There are so many better RPGs I could recommend. Anything with the Mario license is better than this. Every other Bioware game is way better than this. And even, I don't want to say this, Final Fantasy XIII is better than this. Avoid Sonic Chronicles like the plague. This game ends on a cliffhanger, but you know what? It doesn't matter. This game's never gonna get a sequel. Nobody liked this thing. Avoid this game like the plague. The story is not worth it. The horrible graphics and music are nothing to see, and the battle system is just god-awful. Look, I know it seems like most of this video is going to amount to the POW move system sucks, and that's why the game's bad. But again, it's the entire presentation. It's the uninteresting story. It's just everything about it. In Guitar Hero, you don't immediately get kicked out of a song for strumming one wrong note. That's what this game was for me. It wasn't about tactics, it was about whether you could manage stylus minigames or not. This was Elite Beat Agents, the RPG, and I did not expect coming into an RPG by Bioware focusing on Sonic the Hedgehog that it would be really hard to get into and that it would be focused so much on this stylus bullshit. It ruined the game for me, and I'm sorry. I don't find it easy. I don't find it short. When bad games are bad, they go on forever, and I hated every minute of it. And it just solidified the Dark Age of Sonic for me, you know? What the fuck? When did this series just stop giving a shit? Sonic Advance 3 had horrible level design, Sonic Battle was repetitive and boring, Shadow the Hedgehog took the series in such a stupid direction, adding minor swear words and guns and aliens and it's retarded. Instead of making a proper kart racing game, they make a game that not everyone's gonna get into. They make one of the worst ports of Sonic 1 anyone's ever played. They made the worst thing ever. Then they make a motion-controlled crap fest that's on the rails most of the time that you don't even enjoy when you're playing it. They made PSP games, which no one even cares about. Marine the Raccoon is one of the most annoying things in the world. And then they get one of the best freaking RPG makers to make one of the worst Sonic games ever. What the hell is with the Dark Age of Sonic? When is this thing gonna end? I'm so tired of this. What happened to the good old days when it was just simple, like Sonic 2? When's the good quality fun stuff, like Sonic Adventure? I just want to play a decent, well-made Sonic game again. Well, good news, Clement. The next game in the Sonic series is the one that you consider to be the last game in the Dark Age of Sonic. Oh, thank God. So I'm gonna be honest, guys, I actually wanted to get through the Dark Age of Sonic before I tackled another game. I know some people are getting a little bit Sonic'd out because, you know, it's all I play, and they'd rather see me play other stuff. They like it when I play Star Fox 64, or Banjo-Kazooie, or do WrestleGamia. But I was so close to the Dark Age being over, I just wanted to finish it, and I have to be honest, the next LP we're doing, it's a big one, and it's gonna be long, and there's gonna be a lot of sections where I might actually get guest commentators to come in, because I don't know how long I can talk about one particular subject. So guys, no more trolling. The next LP I'll be doing, and the last Sonic LP I'll do for a while, I'll move on to other stuff after this. Sonic Unleashed for the Xbox 360. And Sonic Unleashed for the Nintendo Wii. I'm going to be doing both of them at the same time, and oh yes, you're going to be getting a lot of Werehog out of this. You wanted it, you got it.